Learn on One. Invite learning in.
Hello everyone, welcome to Mouth Zone Online School. My name is Mr. Mario Athanasio Ananias. Let's welcome our friend Clarice. Let's not forget to sanitize our hands. And then we keep the distancing. Put on our mask. And our topic for today is human body. Dear learners, we said our topic for today is human body, but we're specifically looking at the breathing system. We are on page 19. Our competencies for today are, we will learn how to identify and label the structures of breathing system. We will also learn to describe the functions of the following parts: nasal cavity, voice box, windpipe, ribs, and diaphragm. We're also going to learn how to describe the path of air through the parts of the breathing system, or how to demonstrate it. And then we're also going to learn how to explain inhaling and exhaling processes with reference to the ribs and the diaphragm. Before we go in details of our lesson, let's look at the common words that are used in this system, which is breathing system. The first word is inhaling. What is inhaling? Inhaling means the process of breathing the air into your body. It means the air is getting into your body. Exhaling. Exhaling is a process of breathing out the air from your body, meaning that the air that you breathe in the first place has now to go out of your body. And what is a system? A system is a group of organs working together to perform important jobs for the body. It means we are having different parts of your body which are working together for the same function. A system is actually combined of different parts. One part of the body cannot make a system, but it has to be more than one to be a system. Those are the words that are commonly used in breathing system. Let's get started. We say that our first competency is to identify and label the structure of the breathing system. So our bodies are made up of different parts, but those body parts don't belong to a certain system. They belong to various systems. So for today, we are going to learn which parts belong to the breathing system and where are they situated in our bodies. The very first part that we have to know is that it's a nasal cavity. Nasal cavity, we can't see it. Okay? You can't see it or you can't touch it either because it's inside. It's actually between, we can say in your head, but it's between your nose and your windpipe. Okay? When you breathe in, the air has to go, the nasal cavity is after the nose. Okay? So the nasal cavity is the one that you feel blocked when you're having flu. The second part is the nose. The nose is outside of our body. It's on our face. We can all touch it. Mine, you can't see, it's covered by the mask. And then we have the mouth. The mouth, we all know it, is the one that we are using when we speak. Right now when I'm speaking, I have to use my mouth. That's one of the parts that we use to breathe. For example, when you run or when you're having flu, for example, you realize that you normally breathe through your mouth. Okay? Number 4, larynx, and then that one, we can also not see it, but it's between the windpipe and the nasal cavity, just a spot in there which is close to your voice box. And then number 5, we have the left lung, we have lungs, one has to be on the left and the other one has to be on the right. And then number 5 is actually the lungs on your left-hand side. 6, we have the diaphragm. Diaphragm is situated underneath your lungs. Is a muscle which is actually based underneath your lungs, which controls the movement of air inside and outside. And then we have the throat. Throat, which you can maybe say also it's a wind. If you look at number 7, throat is actually after the mouth. When you're breathing through the mouth, the air goes into your throat before it's reached to the lungs. And then we have esophagus. Esophagus is not actually important for breathing system. It's normally for eating or digestive system. Then we have the trachea. The trachea is actually normally called the windpipe as well. Some people prefer to call it trachea. Some people prefer to call it a windpipe. That's what you feel hard. So it starts from your neck. It goes down to the lungs. Okay, and then we also have the right lung. As I've said before, we have 2 lungs. One is on your right, and the other one has to be on your left. And then we have the bronchi. The bronchi is actually also in your lungs. Those are the branches after the trachea that are in your lungs. Okay, capillaries. Those are the small blood vessels that help breathing or carrying air to the other parts of the body. We have venule. Venule, if you check number 13, those are the small pieces that we can't normally see. And even if you see lungs of an animal, you won't be able to see them because they are very, very small. And they are within the lungs. Okay? Arterioles, those are blood vessels. And bronchioles and alveoles, those are all small, tiny particles or small, tiny parts of our lungs that we can't see. They are very, very small. That's why even if you look there, they have made it actually a little bit bigger for you. Okay? So we continue on page 20. On page 20, we are going to look at the main functions of main parts of the breathing system. Okay? So on the previous page, we have looked at different parts, but we have just made it broader for you to have a broader understanding of the breathing system. But now we're specifically looking at the main parts of the system and their functions. Okay? So every part of our body, just know that to decorate us or make us look cute or beautiful, but each part of our body has a specific function that it has to perform on our body. And we are studying the nasal cavity as part of the breathing system. Why should we have a nasal cavity? The nasal cavity is there to trap dust and smoke particles from air during inhalation. We have already described now the meaning of the word inhalation. We said it's the breathing in of the air. Now, we might find ourselves in dirty environments, so which are dusty or having smoke. Now, the nasal cavity is just there to make sure that the air that we breathe in, the dust and all those unwanted particles in the air do not go down until our lungs. Okay? That's why you realize that if you go to places that are scenty or places that are dusty, places that are having smoke, you realize that at the end of the day, you might end up having flu. So that flu is a result of the nasal cavity holding those heavy particles that were actually in the air that you breathe in. So it has collected all those dust that are not needed to enter your body, just to let the air in, and then the dust remain. Then we have the voice box. The voice box is just there for the production of sound, okay? If I was not having a voice box, you wouldn't hear me speaking, because the voice box is the one that has to make sure that my sound is produced and come out as we are hearing it. We have the windpipe. As it says, we have the word wind, okay, and we have the word pipe. These two words join together and then have the function of carrying air from the nasal cavity or carrying air from the mouth to the lungs during inhalation process, and also carry air from the lungs to the mouth or the nose during exhalation process. Okay? We are saying that it has two jobs. It actually certain one function, but it works in two ways. It helps the air, or it carries the air to go down to the lungs from the mouth and the nose. And at the same time, when you're breathing out, it helps the air to move from the lungs to the mouth and the nose. We can say that The windpipe is a connection between the outside parts of our breathing system and the inside part of our breathing system. Then we move on to the next part of our breathing system, which is the ribs. Ribs change the shape of our chest and protect the lungs. So here we are mentioning two functions of the ribs. The ribs are there to protect, for protection, to make sure that whatever hits you on the sides or from the back or from the front doesn't harm the inside part of you, which actually part of your chest, which are lungs. And then also to make sure that when you are breathing in, it shapes up our chest to make sure that the accommodation of the air that we breathe in is enough or created. The last part of control the movement of air inside and outside the lungs, the body. Okay? So the diaphragm, as I've said it earlier, it's underneath our lungs. It moves either up, forming a V, or it flattens underneath our lungs. So when it flattens, it creates enough space for the lungs to settle down and have enough air. But when it's forming a V facing down, it forces the air in our lungs to go out. So which makes it possible for us either to breathe in or to breathe out. I hope you have an understanding now of the functions of those parts. We are moving on, same page, which is 20. Now we are looking at, as we have now looked at the main parts of the breathing system and their functions. Now we are looking at how are those parts of the breathing system work together, as we are looking at how does air move from outside our body until it goes inside our body, until the point of us breathing out that air outside our bodies. We are saying that the air is outside in our environment. That's the air that we need to breathe in, having enough oxygen that we need in our bodies. That oxygen-rich air from the environment enter our bodies through the nose, okay? And then it goes through the nasal cavity. When it goes to the nasal cavity, before it goes down again, it goes to pharynx, and then it goes to trachea, bronchi, bronchial, alveoli. And then that's now inside the lungs, alveolus. And then now, oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. So oxygen goes into the body, and carbon dioxide is in the body has to go to the lungs. And then what happens? Carbon dioxide, which is not needed in our body, it now starts to move from the lungs to the other parts of the body, which are part of the breathing system, until it goes out. So it's bronchial, the bronchi, the trachea, pharynx, nasal cavities, carbon dioxide, which is not needed in our body, it goes into the atmosphere through the nose or through the mouth. In short, we are saying that when we are breathing, it's actually a two-way process. The air going in and the air going out. When the air is going in, it starts with our nose and it ends with our lungs. But when we are breathing out, it starts with our lungs and it ends with our nose and the mouth. Okay? We are continuing. We are going now to have a little bit of or deeper explanation in terms of inhalation and exhalation process in reference to the ribs and the diaphragm. And then I'm going to explain this a little bit on the board. So we are saying that we are going to explain inhaling and exhaling with the reference to the ribs and the diaphragm. It says rib cage expands as rib muscles contract. I'm going to have two different pictures, but you have to be careful. They might look the same, but their sizes will look different, and I will explain reasons why those pictures have different sizes. Okay? So, just a rough drawing. Okay, I have that. And I have that. Okay. So I want to make sure that the chest part is the one that's looking different. Okay. Those two, I can see the difference here and here. Those are my differences when it comes to the sizes of the pictures. Then here are the ribs in your body. Now, we are going to explain what causes the side of our chest, okay, to be different. What causes, why is it important that our chest have different sizes during the process of breathing? We are starting with inhaling process. Inhaling process, our chest has to expand or become bigger. Then we have to ask ourselves a question, why should our chest become bigger when we're breathing in? Okay? Every time when you're putting something somewhere, you need space for that. Okay? So when we are breathing in, it means that we are adding something in our body. And then because of that, we should have enough space for the air that you are breathing in. So this is the reason why our chest, where are the lungs that are important for the breathing system, the chest has to expand, making sure that there is enough space for the air that you are breathing in. If the expansion of the chest doesn't happen, it's going to be difficult for you to have that air that you are taking into your body. Okay? So that's why sometimes you can see somebody laying on the ground, or you can see a dog laying on the ground, but for you to see that that dog or that somebody is breathing, you look at the chest. You don't even look at the feet or don't look at the head. We all have this kind of knowledge about this breathing system. You have to look at the chest because the side of the chest should change in the sense that the air goes in, having enough space. The expansion which is needed here is to accommodate the air which is coming from the environment and goes into our body. So when the air comes here, now it will settle in our chest, making sure that the space is enough. Now, we are going to exhalation. Air out. Why should the chest become smaller? Okay? Why the chest has to become smaller during the exhalation process? We are saying that now I have to empty this air from my chest or from my lungs. Okay? So as we said, the diaphragm, which is underneath my lungs, it moves, forming kind of a V shape, going between my lungs. Remember we said we are having the left lungs and then the right lungs. The diaphragm squeeze moving up and forces the air in my lungs, then that air starts to go out. Okay? So when I try to empty something from a container, the space inside becomes smaller because what was inside is no more there. Making sure that now my chest had to sink a little bit or become smaller a little bit because the air which was inside have moved out. But here, the diaphragm have to flatten underneath my lungs, making sure that the lungs settle down to make sure that the enough air is within the lungs. Okay? So let me show you a little bit with just a plastic on what happens when we're breathing. Okay? So we don't need something fancy to explain this. I'm starting with air in, which is inhalation process. Okay? Excuse, I have to remove my mask a little bit because I'm doing this explanation. So, This is the environment, and the air has to go in. This is the body of a human being. Now, the air went in, the chest got bigger because the air that I breathed in from the environment. That's breathing in. Breathing out, we say that the diaphragm is underneath your lungs, squeeze the air outside the lungs. My hand is going to act as a diaphragm. The diaphragm now forces the air outside the lungs. Looking at the differences when I breathe in, my plastic, which is I'm using as lungs, it was bigger, but when I squeezed as a diaphragm, it became smaller. Meaning that when we are breathing in, our chest or our body become bigger to make sure that there's enough space for the air, but when we're breathing out, our chest becomes smaller to make sure that the air is actually squeezed out of our body. Let's go back to our booklet. Okay? We are still on page 20. So, air inhaled, okay? You can see that the size of the lungs on the picture, which is on our left-hand side, and then the size of the lungs, which is on the picture on the right-hand side, the sizes are not the same. As I've explained earlier, on the left-hand side, we need enough space for the air. Then the lungs have to look a little bit bigger. If you look at the shapes of the diaphragm, on the picture on the left, and also on the picture on the right, the one that is on the right looks more like a rainbow. It's more curving, meaning that it's shaping up in a sense that it's pushing the lungs up, which is making it possible for the lungs to release the air out of the body. But the one which is on the left, it looks a little bit flat compared to the one on the right, making it possible for the lungs to settle down a little bit to make sure that there's enough air into our body. So that's why if you have seen somebody who has been running or doing some exercises, if you look at the person's chest, okay, the shape of the chest change in the sense that you can notice the changes, okay? The sides change in a bigger range to make sure that because I've been using my energy or I've been using up my air, I need enough oxygen as fast or as much as I can. That's why our chest, after running, it changes the size of our chest becomes so big in a sense that we have enough air in our body. Okay? The picture on our right, which shows that the air that exhaled, it shows that when we're breathing out, the lungs become a little bit smaller, and the diaphragm become more curved to make sure that the air gets out of our body. I hope you have been following the learners, and then we are going now to test our knowledge if you have understood what you have been doing in class for today. So now we are moving to page 21, assessment part. What do we want you to do for us to test your understanding? We want you to identify and label parts of the breathing system. Okay, we are having them 1 up to 16. We have looked at them already, all of them. We want you now to say, number 1, what is it? Number 2, what is it? Until number 16. That's question 1. Question 2, copy all the parts or organs from question 1 and complete the table below by describing the function of the following organs. So, we are not here. Let's not do all of them, but we are only going to look at few. We are going only to look at nasal cavity, lungs, diaphragm, nose, and the mouth. You don't have to put all. Looking at the table there, it doesn't have up to number 16, but you're only going to look at the basic one that you have looked at, the functions that you have previously discussed, which is nasal cavity, voice box, windpipe, ribs, and the diaphragm. Those are the ones that they've looked at the functions. You don't have to give the functions that I haven't looked at today. You only give the functions that we have learned today. Question 3. Explain the path of air through the parts of the breathing system. We want you now to explain what happens or which parts of the body or breathing system are involved through breathing, either you're breathing in or breathing out. Explain all the details, all the spots, all the points that air have to pass until it goes where it has to go and until it comes out, until it leaves our body parts. Question 4, explaining inhaling and exhaling with the reference of the ribs and the diaphragm. We want you now to explain to us what happens to the ribs and what happens to the diaphragm during the process of breathing. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. We'll see each other again next time. Let's not forget to sanitize our hands. So keeping our mask on, observing the social distancing, and we wish you a very good day. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone. You can't hug your friends anymore, but you can still give yourself some love, or you can practice how to blow hugs. Mwah, 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 mwah. And until next time, bye!
Prevention is important. Help prevent the spread of illness and keep yourself and others well. Hand washing is one of the most effective ways of preventing the spread of germs. Wash your hands regularly with soap and hot water, scrubbing your hands thoroughly for at least 20 seconds. Hand sanitizers can be used but are not recommended as a substitute for hand washing. Use sanitizers in addition to hand washing or in a situation where soap and water are not available. To avoid spreading germs, limit sharing of personal items such as utensils, cups, and dishes. Your skin acts as a barrier to germs, but your eyes, nose, and mouth are more vulnerable. Wash your hands thoroughly before touching your face, eating, or drinking. Avoid physical contact with others, including handshakes, fist bumps, high fives, hugs, and kisses. Social distancing is deliberately increasing the physical space between people to avoid spreading germs. While regulations may vary by country or area, the best guideline for social distancing is to maintain a distance of 6 feet from others. Germs can travel through the air from one person to another. If you sneeze or cough, do so into a tissue or the inside of your elbow to prevent the spread of germs. Avoid contact with ill individuals and insist they isolate themselves until they have recovered and are symptom-free. Clean and sanitize frequently touched common surfaces and high-traffic areas in your home and workplace several times a day. Share these guidelines with others and help prevent the spread of illness and maintain a healthy environment. An ounce of prevention is worth